Maria Dolores Trebuch holds a Master in Applied Linguistics and is a full professor of History of the language at Universidad Nacional de Córdoba. She directs the Educational Technology Center and leads a research team on online university education, sharing their work widely through academic publications and presentations. Emilce Garcia Ferreira is an associate teacher in history of the English language at Universidad Nacional de Córdoba. She holds a master's degree in intercultural studies and researches digital education interculturally, no me sale la palabra, and EFL teaching. Today is Friday. Actively publishing and presenting on these topics also. Jimena San Martin has a master's in applied linguistics and lectures in EFL teacher education programs at Universidad Nacional de Córdoba. She also directs a postgraduate program, especialización en didáctica de las lenguas extranjeras. Her research focuses on social justice in language education, teacher and learner agency, and materials development. Carolina Orniero earned her PhD from the University of Connecticut and currently serves as academic coordinator at the virtual campus of Facultad de Lenguas. She teaches pedagogy and researches distance education and digital citizenship. Paula Faletti holds a teaching and research degree in EFL and a master in applied linguistics. She lectures and works as a techno-pedagogical consultant and coordinates a distant mode postgraduate program at Universidad Nacional de Córdoba. Her research focuses on technology-mediated learning and teacher education. Last but not least, Silvina Strader is an assistant professor of history of the language at Universidad Nacional de Córdoba and is completing her master in technology-mediated teaching and learning. She also works as a techno-pedagogical consultant in Universidad Nacional de Córdoba virtual campus, with research interest in educational technology and history of the language. A big round of applause to all these teachers. And thank you for being here. Well, there is no PowerPoint, no people online, so we are going to talk right now, kind of conversation.
Hi. Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much, Leticia, for the introduction. And also, thank you, Universidad Blas Pascal, for putting together this convention. We know that it takes a lot of effort. And it's also a wonderful opportunity for professional development for everyone, for teachers and for students. So thank you very much. And Leticia yesterday mentioned that sometimes a lot of teachers had great ideas that because they don't have places like this to share their work, those great ideas remain in the teacher's room. So this is also the opportunity to share. And we decided to get this kind of conversational format so that you can also join with your questions and your comments and to be part of this conversation, okay? So let us introduce ourselves, not with a long curriculum, but just to okay, so Dolores, Silvina, and Emilce work in Historia de Lengua, one of the subjects that is going to be the focus of discussion, and Paula and Jimena are in Didáctica General del Inglés. Now, let us give us a little bit of context to give you the focus of our talk. We work in a face-to-face environment. We teach face-to-face. But in the year 2017, the Minister of Education, the National Minister of Education, passed a law that allowed programs to teach a 70-30, that is to say 70% face-to-face and 30% virtually. They didn't have in mind the 70-30 like Fernet type of thing, but I'm joking, so that you can remember. So in the year 2018, our dean decided to implement this change and invited 12 subjects, courses, to adapt their content. And History of the Language and Didactica decided to take up the challenge. Now, when we talk about blending face-to-face and synchronous or online learning, it's not just a question of uploading a PDF. We follow principles of distance education in which the student has to be very active and the central role is on the activity. So in order to do that, it seems simple, but that's why we're talking about this challenge. So what we're going to share today are a few questions that that are going to guide our discussion and the lessons learned throughout all these years, okay? So anyone can answer, all right? So how would you define virtualization and how is it distributed during the year? Like everything is at the beginning, at the end, in the middle, or how does it look like? Anyone can start.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks for the invitation. And well, it's a pleasure to be here and well, share our experience with all of you. So in our case, Didactica General, we follow strictly the 70-30. That is, as we were part of this piloting experience in 2019, and then taking advantage of all our experience during the pandemic, those 2 years in which we only taught lessons in distance mode. That's one of the reasons why we have taken this challenge of teaching our course, our module in this distribution of the 70-30. That means that, for example, in our case, we have 2 periods per week, 2 80-minute periods per week, and I mean, if we consider the whole academic year, 70% of those periods will be in-person lessons on campus, 30% will be part of this virtualization, and that for us means asynchronous work. So then there are no synchronous lessons. We don't usually have like a meet session or a session using Zoom or one platform like that. And what we do during, I mean, that percentage of the sessions, well, involve activities which we could define or characterize as autonomous work. I mean, there's a lot of work that students do on their own using, in our case, Moodle platform. That's the platform that our university has. And there we have uploaded, well, different types of materials. And by materials, we stress the fact that I've been following several authors that they are materials, or when we so as to distinguish materials from resources, right? So the materials that we have developed for this asynchronous work, and they include, for example, individual activities or group work activities, and we have a combination of compulsory and optional activities. And of course, we understand that this autonomous work is not the student working on their own completely, but we understand that the teacher, and we stress our role and as a facilitator, as a guide there. I don't want to answer the following question, but I mean, we have devoted a lot of time to designing, carefully planning and designing activities for this autonomous work, but under the supervision and under the teacher's guidance. And something else that we could say, just to finish with this, is that in our careful planning, we have also we also make sure that there is a direct link between everything that we do on Moodle and everything that we do in our in-person lessons. So then there are these explicit direct links between everything that occurs, let's say, in Moodle and everything that occurs in the classrooms. And well, in our case, as regards how it is distributed, well, we have carefully chosen certain topics that for us were, we thought that they were more suitable for, to start working or promoting this autonomous work on the part of the students. So we combine, when we say asynchronous work or virtual week, that means one complete week. So then those 2 periods, those 80-minute periods, will be virtual work. So then those weeks students don't attend lessons on campus, and they work on the virtual classroom with all the activities that we have prepared. And we combine the in-person and the asynchronous lessons throughout the year, taking into account the distribution of the 70 and the 30%.
Thank you.
Well, hello. Is it okay? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, naturally, we work with the same platform, that is the online platform, where our virtual classes, classrooms are hosted. In our case, we also apply this 30-70 system, but in our case, we have applied this system for many years differently, assigning that 30% to different, maybe sometimes classes, or eventually to a whole period. This year, we have done what we thought has worked the best, and we have assigned, as the virtual period, a whole month. That is 4 classes, and is that more or less what you do? But in contrast with you, we have both asynchronous and synchronous work, because during that month in which students will have to work in the virtual classroom, completing certain tasks in which they have to work collaboratively, we will be, yes, sorry. Oh, I see. Should I start again? No, not enough. Well, strong enough. Thank you. I'm sorry. I was telling you that during that month, that will be September, more or less September, students will have to work completing tasks, and they will have to work at some points in pairs, at some points in groups. Particularly in this case, they will have to complete a wiki, and so it's really challenging work, and it's strongly collaborative. But during those 4 weeks, they will have one day in which we're going to be there, we're going to be ready, available for helping them, for giving them the opportunity to ask questions, for giving advice as to time management, which is something that has to be taken into account. For the rest, I think it's the same, right?
Thank you. Next question. Okay.
See if you like it, if you really agree.
You were talking, Jimena, about autonomous work on the students' part. So, what role do teachers play in order to foster that autonomy?
Well, that has been quite challenging, and there are lots of things that we teachers have to do, because the first thing that we have to say, or something that worried us a lot, was this idea that, well, that some students may, or some people may believe that because it is virtual or distance mode, well, it's, yes, there are no classes, I mean, it will be easy, teachers don't, I mean, they just, they are at home and they take a rest. No, it's not exactly that, right? And we need to make sure that students know that even though they are working on the virtual classroom, we are there. And we need to show that we are there behind everything, and that we are there for them to help them with whatever they need. So, of course, there are, I mean, one of the roles that we have to play has to do with technical support, because sometimes there are, well, difficulties, and we need to help them overcome those difficulties. Of course, we are content creators, because we have developed all the materials ourselves. And but as I mentioned before, I think that the main role is that of the facilitator. And what do we mean by that? Well, we need to provide mainly cognitive support. So as to, I mean, help students actually get achieve the goals that we have set for our course and for the different topics that we are discussing. So we have, well, we need to scaffold their work, so then everything that they, I mean, everything that we, or the way in which we have planned our lessons in Moodle somehow resemble the type of interaction that you would expect in a lesson. So then there are some, well, there are transitions, and there are questions that, for example, in a face-to-face lesson, you would ask the student. So then we try to somehow recreate that scenario, but now in Moodle. So then, for example, we guide the students into the readings, for example, the compulsory readings, but it's not just that, like saying, for example, well, read this chapter. No, we include some questions for reflection, we guide the process, and now why don't you think about this, or how would you apply this? So then we try to recreate these dialogic interactions that you would expect in a face-to-face lesson. So then that is what we mean by, well, devoting a lot of time to providing cognitive support. And well, there are, for example, when they have to deal with a new topic, we also include, well, different types of explanations, resorting to different type of multimedia support. We have also included, for example, study tips with, for example, how to approach the bibliography, the compulsory readings, giving them some ideas on how to approach the new content, for example, well, how to prepare a mind map with whatever they are reading. Also through, well, messages that we send every time that they are supposed to work on their own in Moodle, reminders of what they are expected to do, telling them, well, remember that this is virtual week, this is what you are supposed to do, check the calendar so that you can manage your times, and you can, well, know what you are expected to do, what you are supposed to, for example, to hand in, if there are deadlines, etc. And also as regards feedback. We need to be careful about the type of feedback that we provide during those activities, so that then it is constructive, it is detailed enough for students to, I mean, to know well, what they have, I mean, if they have for example, understood the topic or they have been able to apply the concepts in certain ways. We also include sample answers of what they are supposed to do, for example, or expected to produce. And we also include questions for reflection as food for thought, for example. But basically, as I said before, well, this role of the facilitator or the role of the teacher as a guide has to do with carefully planning how students are going to go through that virtual experience, providing enough support, enough scaffolding. We also include roadmaps so that the students know how to follow. It is easy for them to follow and find the information. And again, going back to something that I mentioned at the beginning, well, providing students with clear evidence or explicit information for them to know what the relationship or what the connection is between what we do in Moodle and what we do in the in-person lessons. It's not that we are doing something different here and something different there. It's like there is a connection, and we are always going back and building on everything that we do in one type of learning environment and then on the other type of learning environment, so that then there is this cohesion, there's coherence in our proposal.
Thank you.
Nothing left to say. I should have spoken first. No, because you are the teachers of didactics. So I would only like to repeat or add a little bit about this importance of this social dimension. We follow the theoretical framework of this model, the COI. Carolina will refer to it a little bit at the end. And in this model, there are three very important elements, and one of them is the social. They are called presences. Probably some of you already know about that. The social presence is of the utmost importance. You can see what happened to the bear, so we don't want to be bears. Then the teaching presence, and so I think that Jime has shown how detailed our task is, how really it takes great effort, because you have to think about the possible difficulties the student will face, and you need to really offer that support without being there. And the third presence is this cognitive aspect, which Jime has already referred to, right? Not more than that.
Thank you. Any benefit or difficulties that she hasn't covered yet? Anything else? Okay, just to wrap up, if you want to implement or if you want to design a virtual a course around a virtual platform, these three components are very important to take into consideration: social, cognitive, and teaching presence. And we follow this community of inquiry model that has been developed by researchers in Canada, Garrison, Archer, and Anderson, in the year 2000. And you might ask, well, if that happened in the year 2000, how is it that it's still valid? Because the amount of teachers that have used the model and have reported on the benefits of guiding, because when you plan for a totally online environment or a blended environment, as it is the case, sometimes you go like shooting in the dark. You don't know what is it that you can do in order to replicate if there was some success. So if you follow these three components, they guide what you will be doing next. Okay, so shall we open the floor for questions? Yes? Do you have any questions in terms of, have you experienced blended? I mean, we're not talking about emergency remote teaching during the pandemic, so afterwards. I mean, what type of, how do you teach? Is it face-to-face? Is it a combination? What's going on in your classes? Yes.
Hi. So I'm a teacher trainer. So I work both a combination of in-person and online classes. But my question was more general, and it has to do with what you have been talking about today about the virtual teaching. And I had a question which is kind of maybe a bit of a political question, but I would like to know if you have any insights or opinions on this that you're comfortable sharing about this tendency to bring back to in-person environments. There's a strong, clear tendency. At least I can speak from the Córdoba context. I'm not sure about the rest of the country, but I suspect it's a similar situation. So obviously during the pandemic, we were forced abruptly, traumatically, to go 100% online from one day to the other. But then the ensuing years, the following years, 2022, 2023, very strongly 2024, and still strongly, more strongly 2025, the tendency has been to come back to as close as possible to 100% in-person classes, right? Why? I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure if there are some control issues there, but because clearly a lot of what can be done in person can be done online, at least in adult education. And I'm talking from a tertiary level perspective. I know that at the lower levels with younger children, it's a whole different universe. But I would like to know if you have any insights or opinions that you would like to share about that. Thank you.
I mean, we can speak for our own community. Our plan of studies has been designed for a face-to-face environment. So I speak for from our experience, but I bet that it's going to be similar in other institutions as well. If your plan of studies has been approved to be taught in that format, you cannot change it. The exception was during the pandemic. Our dean in 2018 had a vision. She said, we're going to be teaching more and more online. We'll need more skills to be able to cope with the demands of the 21st century. So why don't we do this gradual plan? She never thought that 2 years later we would have a pandemic. So that's what we can explain. It's not a question, it's not a political question, it's a legal question. I mean, you need to do what you said you will be offering. But I don't know if you have other options, ideas.
Thank you for your question. I believe that the difference that, we were forced to teach online during the pandemic, and after that everything changed. We cannot deny that. And I think that the difference now is that for you to be on site, to be face-to-face with the teacher, with your classmates, it has to be meaningful. It has to be worthwhile. Okay, because otherwise you would be at home just checking information or looking into something online or using ChatGPT or something like that. So you have to make your classes meaningful when you are in class, and also when working online. That's why we work with this model, because we believe that working online entails much more than just uploading a PDF, but it entails being active students, active teachers, all right, participating many times collaboratively, yes, with a focus on activities, right, not just reading, but real, meaningful activities, engaging activities, motivating for the students. And, well, we try to organize and design activities and content that is appealing to our teachers, that is useful for their career, yes, for their training. And we work with, I said before, the teaching presence is important, the cognitive element is also important, and the social element also is central. So interaction has to be meaningful. Yes? I don't know, Dolores, if you...
I just wanted to speak about autonomy. No? It increases students' autonomy. We have seen that all over the years, and we're working on digital literacy, which is also increased. And I can't help thinking about getting up in the morning, getting ready, get rest, then you go to the university, and then you're at the university, and probably you're doing there what you could be doing from home. And if we think in terms of working at home, it is more or less the same. I mean, you start giving more value to your time, and it gives you the flexibility of working in a virtual environment, improves really, or gives you more time for you to do some other things, for you to work really at the moment when you are in peace, when nobody else is at home, when the computer is only for you. I mean, there are many things. We are in the way of working in a more comfortable environment, working, studying, being a student, being a teacher. Precisely at the university today, there was a workshop on bienestar estudiando, something like that. That is trying to improve our well-being. And I think that so far, after some 5 or 6 years of doing this, we have had the feedback of students who say that they have been very happy during the period of the virtualization. Still, if they have had to study much more, because this is what they said. Oh, we had to study a lot, we had to do a lot of work, still we feel that we have learned. So I think that the key word would be autonomy.
Any other question? Oh, if I knew, I would have stayed there.
Hello, how are you? Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm going to share with you my experience as a teacher, because I try to use my phone, yes, in order to use text in my class. I try to send, or I send some pictures in order to do some activities. But, for example, this morning, I said we are going to check our last class, our last activity, and my students said, which activity did you send us? But I think they are interested on social media, yes. They want to navigate in social media. But I think when we talk about virtual classes, as you said before, our students, our adolescents think virtual classes like a game, yes? And in our point of view, is our educational system prepared to combine this type of this type of teaching, yes? So this new wave of teaching in virtual classes after pandemic, yes, showed it is a great opportunity to teach, yes, beyond our classroom, yes? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your for sharing this experience. I'll try to relate to what you said. Your experience here brings brings light to many aspects of our work. One is related to your the previous question that we had. That is to this number 70-30. In fact, is not because we liked it, but it's according to what Carolina explained before. It's what the law allows us to do, what the current regulations allow us to do with a course that is an in-person course, technically. I mean, our profesorados and licenciaturas are in-person courses, and the degrees they obtain, our students obtain.
But to get to virtualize 30%, that requires a lot, a lot, I have to admit, we know that, a lot of careful planning. And also autonomy on the part of our learners. So what I mean is, you're not going to virtualize or you're not going to engage students from the beginning with 30%, with a lot of work. Maybe you need to start, as you were saying, little by little. You start because incorporating technological or digital tools into our lessons, that's an opportunity all of us have at hand, with different resources, and we can start little by little. But choosing to teach 30% of our contents in this distance mode, that requires a lot more planning, let's say. In our case, we have to, in order to, let's say, to make the experience meaningful for our learners, we engage in a lot of planning of meaningful activities. So the learner feels challenged and feels that he or she has all the tools necessary to go through, let's say, over all those contents on his or her own. In our case, we also think of different learning styles, information processing. We take all those principles into account when we plan our lessons. Also, Jimena mentioned this idea of, they are not, what I wanted to show here is that they are not isolated activities. If they are going to have, as in our case, virtual week, our lessons are carefully designed so that there is a time for reflection, for analysis, for questioning and thinking of discussing with partners, because they are working on their own, but not alone, let's say. At some moments, of course, they will be working on their own, then there will be instances of pair work, of group work, of maybe asynchronous discussion, because forums or other types of activities allow for, okay, I post my opinion or my video, my production, and then my partners assess that work, give me their opinion, elaborate on what I've done. But let's say, what I wanted to stress is this careful, like taking or accompanying the learners through a path that we have already, or we previously designed, and giving them all the scaffold necessary and creating opportunities for individual work, for group work, also for processing the information, cognitive support, emotional support, because they need that as well, so they do not feel, let's say, that they are working alone, really. Jimena said something at the beginning that I think it's crucial. That is, we have to show that we are there, even if they cannot see us. In what ways do they see us? Well, in those forum posts, in the way we, for example, when we create a lesson that is not an individual activity, a lesson, we do it in dialogue form. In a way, like recreating what would happen in like this. Okay, okay, have you thought about this? Okay, remember when we said the last week this or that? Okay, why don't you write down on your notebook 3 ideas, the first 3 concepts that come to your mind. Keep them there next to you, so then when you go back to the bibliography, you compare that. So we guide their processing, and that takes time.
Just wanted to add to your original question. I'm adding up to what my colleagues have said. If the educational system is prepared, I think that that's our challenge, and also the invitation from this convention, that we have to break the boundaries, we have to go beyond limits and reinvent education. So it's part of our responsibility as teachers to try to find new ways of teaching, and also help our students new ways of learning. Yes, so it's shared responsibility. Thank you. Okay.
Something else I think that has to be taken into account is the level we're teaching, because we all teach at the university. So I don't know if you're teaching children or teenagers we are not prepared to do that. So we have seen that from the year 2017 maybe onwards, people are more and more enthusiastic about studying, for instance, attending postgraduate courses, or eventually working, at the level of teaching online. And for instance, at the Faculty of Languages, most of the postgraduate courses are online nowadays. I don't know how many courses do we have, in person?
A lot.
Not many.
In person, no.
No, in
Online.
person, no, practically it's not. Why? But we can think of the benefits of studying like that, being students at the postgraduate level or at the graduate level. And, well, you cannot beat long distance, or how we call it, remote education, or, well, call it what you may, but it really is convenient, 100% sure in higher levels. I'm not sure we can speak about high school or, primary school.
I just wanted to add one little detail, because we don't know if your question comes from secondary or primary school or teens, probably, yes, because you mentioned social media. So it would depend a lot on the institution where you teach, but my immediate answer when you said that was, if they like social media, use it. If you can, use it. If you can, right? Or if not social media, because you're not allowed, you can use what they like. Use memes, use the videos that they like, the people that they like, and you ask them and they're going to tell you, yes? And if you include that, you also make it meaningful, yes? Because if we're talking about teens studying grammar, they're not going to be interested, right? But if you include other information, or you give them the information in this way, yes, or accompanied by this, yes, you may get their attention, yes, engage them in these activities, yes, so maybe that helps.
I would like to say something else, and going back to schools, because you might think, well, you work at university, you have Moodle platform, and, well, lots of resources, and maybe you're thinking of some schools where you might not have those. But I'm just looking at a dear colleague of mine who is sitting back there, Maria Jose. Say hello to Maria Jose. I have had the opportunity to work with Maria Jose a lot, and she has done beautiful work at a public school, among many other things that Maria Jose has done. I don't know, Maria Jose, if you want to share your work, but maybe I can say something about it. But even when you don't have many resources, like at a school like Carbó School, you can still do many things. And I have seen that working together with teachers at schools. There are many, if you don't have Moodle, well, all the students have cell phones. You may find ways in which you can still work with your students, for example, with listening activities, because sometimes we teachers say, well, we don't even have, audio or something like that. Well, there are many things, but it requires, of course, some extra work on our part. We know that we always have lots of, we teachers have lots of things to do, but still, there are many things that we can manage to do with fewer resources. I believe I have witnessed that, and well, just wanted to show what my dear colleague there does.
Well,
Okay, well, thank you again to this experience that we have here. It's really an honor. It's an honor that you have accepted the invitation. And first, a big round of applause. First thing first.